Hello and welcome to SoBricks. I'm Adam and this is SoBricks. This is my channel for reviewing Lego sets and building them and other Lego related stuff. In this video I'm going to be taking another look at the Lego Creator 3-in-1 Cool Cars set. This is set number 4939. It has 206 pieces and I paid $30 for this. $20, $30? I think I want to say $30 for this. And I've already done a video, several videos, where I've looked at the main model, the alternate model, and the last alternate model for the Creator 3-in-1. But when I was doing that, I was looking at some community designed alternate builds for this set, and they sounded kind of interesting. So I don't think I've ever really done this on the channel, but I'm going to build some stuff with the pieces from this set in this video that are not official Lego designs and kind of talk about them. And I'm not going to go like super in depth with them, and I'm hoping to maybe look at 3 different models. So I'll be building them and I'll speed the video up while I build, and then I'll talk about it a little bit, and then I'll disassemble one of them and then assemble a different one and talk about it a little bit, and so on, and just kind of give my overall thoughts. I thought it'd be a fun little idea, so I wanted to give it a try here. And the first one I'm going to build is actually kind of a takeoff from one of the official builds. There was a cab for a truck, kind of like a semi there, but it had more of a flat end on the cab, and I'm gonna be building this this alternate that's community created, and this one is called the let me see here, the semi truck, and it should use all of the pieces. I believe it was created by pluTOMium, which is like plutonium, but with Tom capitalized in the middle, which is a designer and builder who uploaded these instructions on Brickset, and I will put a link to those in the description, as are everyone else, and I want to make sure to give credit to the original designer, so we will go from there, and then I'm gonna keep the other ones a little bit surprises, yeah, so I'll get into it, and like I said, while I build, I'll speed the video up, and then I'll slow it back down to talk about these alternate builds. So until then, enjoy. Okay, so while we look at the build for this fan-created model by pluTOMium, this classic truck, I just wanted to say thanks for watching, and then remind you, if you like the video, click the thumbs up. If you like my other videos, click the subscribe button. So this had some tough building techniques, not tough in like being crazy intricate. There was just they're not super solid connections, which is kind of a hallmark of sometimes mocks and fan-created designs. And there were some steps, like including right here, where I had to kind of double back to get access to put pieces, and so some of that could be resolved just with reordering some of the steps potentially, but it did make for a slightly more challenging build than I would have expected, and definitely more challenging than the official models from this Cool Cars set. And the truck is starting to take shape here, and this was really weird how we put the windscreen on there and a few other things, and I do talk about that in the full review. So now on to my review for this community-made model of this classic truck. Okay, so here is this community-designed alternate model for the Cool Cars Lego set. This is the one by pluTOMium, and this is interesting. Like I said, this is kind of the first time I'm really doing something exactly like this, and this is sort of unique. I don't know if this is something that was actually built by the designer, or if it was built in a rendering software. I can't remember what that's called. There's a software that has like all the Lego inventory in it that you can kind of do digital builds of things, and it'll create an inventory for you and everything like that, a list of pieces, or you could put in a list of and anyway, and then the stuff to make the instructions a little bit interesting. So This is pretty cool. Now that it's done, I think it looks good. This was supposed to be one that used 100% of the pieces. It doesn't. I mean, there's one of these 4x8 plates left over, and then the rest of these are just kind of the extra pieces that you get in the set generally. So it uses all but one piece here. There might even be a way for this piece to be added in here, but I'm not positive about it. And this was an interesting build. It was kind of tough to build. And that's the thing I've heard people talk about. You know, sometimes these community builds, they don't go through the same process that an official Lego designed model will go through. And what that can occasionally result in is that there's connections in here, techniques in here that probably wouldn't ever make it to market or make it to the shelves or make it into a set if a Lego designer was going to do this. And that's a little bit of a sticking point. I think this, while building it, felt very flimsy to me. Parts kept falling off, and I didn't know exactly how to hold it to get everything together. There's some kind of precarious connections, and I think that's a big thing. I think there's also, you know, just looking at the order of things, how this is put together, there are some elements here where I had to kind of like do a step and then undo a step to do a later step, like getting the windscreen in, like clipped in there, but the way I had already put on the piece that has the steering wheel was already there, and I had to take that off and put that on. And there's a few other instances of that kind of thing, where I kind of had to double back a little bit to look and make sure I can get those connections right. I mean, this whole windscreen thing is probably not a technique that Lego would really ever do, because the windscreen is just connected to one stud over here, one stud over here, and then that's clipped in, which is kind of a weird subassembly, and then it's kind of inverted there. I think it looks really nice here, but it's just a weird connection, and there's several other instances through that. You can see we have kind of some exposed studs on the bracket there, and a few different things. Some of this stuff in here. There was another instance, including, well, this has working doors, so we can kind of open that up and look in there. We do have maybe kind of like a seat. We have maybe a shifting lever there, the steering wheel, the windscreen. But like putting in these, they're under here, there's some of those clear translucent or dark translucent cheese wedges, the same ones that are up here that are kind of under the steering wheel. Those were kind of hard to get in there. There was some pieces that go in on the bottom that were a little tough for me to get in, and that I don't know if it's really just as simple as reordering some of the instructions. Obviously I found my way through that and I did get this assembled, but it is, I would say, it felt a good amount different than an official Lego build. But looking at this, I think it looks pretty great. So to me, this feels more like a classic semi-truck, you know, cab that I'm used to seeing, with the big kind of like engine stuff up front here, and then the driver's seat and everything a little bit behind, and then the trailer can attach on the back. Whereas the one that was in the official set kind of was like the whole front end was kind of flat there. It didn't have this same kind of shape. This almost looks like a tow truck or a pickup truck or something like that, but I believe it is to be a semi truck. I think it looks really good. I think, you know, this brick built kind of fender here is done relatively nicely, even though it was kind of complicated to get all this. I do like the layering here to get the taper of the hood. The grill is nice, the lights are nice, and this is like a sub-assembly that just attaches, you know, a little bit there, and so that's not on there super, you know, it's not super sturdy. And there's a few other parts of that, but this does have doors. It has the windshield. It's got the interior details. The roof is not super elegant, and then the back is pretty basic as well, but that does allow for you know, theoretically a trailer to be attached there. And I think this looks pretty good as a model. I think it looks good. I don't think it's super suitable for play. I would be worried about pieces falling off, and overall it was just an interesting build experience here. And so I think that's all my thoughts on it. And now I'm going to take this apart and I'm going to put together a different fan alternate model. So that one is going to actually be a Landspeeder built out of these parts, so like Luke's Landspeeder or something like that. And this upcoming build it was designed by WelshDynastyBuilds, and I'll link that in the description again, but I'm gonna take this apart and then put that together, that next kind of community alternate build. And while I do that, I will speed the video up and then I'll slow it back down to review and talk about another alternate build for this Cool Cars set. So until then, enjoy. Okay, so while we look at the disassembly for this fan-created alternate build of this classic truck for the LEGO Creator 3-in-1 Cool Cars set, and then while I build another fan-created, fan-designed alternate build called the Star Wars Landspeeder V1 designed by WelshDynastyBuilds, I wanted to take some time to kind of talk about this before we get into the full review. So this one I think actually has a little bit more stability and kind of follows design constraints that I think are closer to what the LEGO group holds its designers to. There are still some what I've been calling kind of precarious connections in here, but I ended up really liking how this one looked. I thought the truck looked great too, but I think this Landspeeder looks really great, and it feels a little more solid and less prone to pieces coming off. The instructions were a little clearer to me, and I didn't have to like double back as much. So I think this comes together really nicely. There's some good techniques in here and overall very fun. So now on to me talking about this alternate build. Okay, so here's another fan-designed or community-designed alternate build for the LEGO Creator 3-in-1 Cool Cars set. This is the Landspeeder V1. It's a mock by WelshDynastyBuilds. Again, I'll link it in the description for the instructions here. And this is pretty cool. Again, I think this model looks quite good, generally speaking. I don't believe is employing techniques that LEGO designers would get away with, and it's hard to kind of quantify all of that. There's just some things. I think this one is a little more standard than the truck one I looked at, but there's still some things in here that are a little bit odd. But overall, I think this looks really good. It used almost all the pieces. Again, we have just this tire left over, so the rubber piece and the rim there, then the kind of standard leftover pieces over here. So that's pretty good. We have the same kind of deal as the truck actually, but this actually works really well for me. So I think traditionally on like Tatooine or whatever, where Luke is maybe driving this in Star Wars, it's maybe more tan, but I think the color blocking here is actually pretty inspired and consistent, which is very, very nice. I think the use for kind of this reddish brown or red or maroon kind of color there for the seats actually feels like that might be the same color that was used in like the UCS Landspeeder. So that feels really, really good to me. Using the tires here, either with the rubber or without the rubber, is nice for kind of the thrusters on the back. We do have some kind of studs on the side building here. There's only a couple like different bracket pieces or bricks with studs on the side, so this is a little bit interesting. And then we're limited by what kind of pieces we have here. I thought building up the front was a little bit strange, but very good. I think it gets the kind of nice curve here, and this rounds out a lot better than I thought it would. The hood is pretty cool, some good shapes in there, some nice usage of some pieces, but we do have stuff going different ways. So like these, the studs are facing kind of the front, but then around that, studs are going up or going out to the other side, which is nice. We do have, kind of an interesting way to attach the windscreen here, but feels really good because this is kind of an open top vehicle. The way that these come out, I thought was going to be really flimsy, but once you get all of the kind of sub-assembly here together, it's not too bad, using like the smaller angle plate on the bottom, having the kind of axle brick or the Technic pin brick coming off there, but then putting another angled plate up top kind of locks that in better than I thought it would. And overall, this kind of hits all the marks for me. We even have kind of a nice little finished back here, and this is pretty fun. I'm not as concerned about this one, you know, falling apart. There are parts that could fall apart. There are parts that aren't, like I say, like maybe done in a way that Lego would do them necessarily, but it did come together relatively nicely, and I didn't have to like backtrack over some steps. I didn't have to be as careful with this as I did with the classic truck that I looked at before this. So that's a win to me, and good use of the parts. This designer, WelshDynastyBuilds, has another version of this, which they just call the Landspeeder V2, I believe. So that one uses maybe one fewer piece. It has the windscreen going a different way. It looks like the front and the side are somewhat similar. The back is redesigned and it doesn't use the tires there. So there's probably a lot of similarities. I'm not going to bother going and looking at this designer's V2. I just picked the V1 just kind of randomly here, and I think that's a pretty successful thing, and like scale wise feels pretty good as well. This would really benefit from having, you know, the inverted tiles underneath here. They didn't have any of those in this set originally, so the designer didn't have access to those. But if I were going to keep this around, there might be a few extra little tweaks I would do to kind of lock some certain things in. But for the most part, this is pretty good. And then, yeah, I would maybe put some inverted tiles in here to make this like slide a little bit easier. It's not terrible, but it's not as good as it could be. And overall, this is pretty impressive to me. So I like this. It totally looks like a Landspeeder, and that's a success. And I do have to say again, the color blocking here is nice. How this kind of tapers up. The step here is really, really cool. Kind of the different greebly like things. The internal details are nice. And I think it's a really well designed mock for this person, or, you know, community designed model here as an alternate for the Lego Creator 3-in-1 Cool Cars. So I'm a big fan of this, and yeah, not nearly as many issues as I think the truck that I looked at had, but still not perfect, and still I would say probably somewhat separate from the standards that the Lego group would kind of put on their designers to actually get something from like the design stage to production to the shelf. They have to go through, I think, much more rigorous testing and follow some different rules that maybe mock builders or, you know, fan created things here, or just community created models and instructions don't necessarily have to abide by. And so that's still very fun, still very cool. I think this looks really, really good. And now I'm going to do one more alternate build for this. And the last one I'm going to look at, I don't know if it's from anything specifically, like if it's related to some IP that inspired it, but this is another model built by pluTOMium, who designed the truck model I did first, and this one's just called the Spinner, and we'll kind of see what it looks like here at the end. So another one by pluTOMium. I could have maybe picked 3 separate designers, but this is just, I picked, you know, the ones that looked interesting to me. So that's that. And so while I disassemble this and while I put together this Spinner alternate model, I'll speed the video up and then I'll slow it back down to give my quick thoughts. So until then, enjoy. Okay, so while I disassemble this fan-created alternate build for the LEGO Creator 3-in-1 Cool Cars set, this was the Star Wars Landspeeder designed by WelshDynastyBuilds, and then while I build another fan-created design by pluTOMium, who designed the classic truck at the beginning, this one is going to be something called the Spinner. It's kind of a sci-fi looking vehicle here, and this build was really interesting too. I almost didn't know how it was going to come together until pretty much the very end. And again, I think this uses some techniques and some connections that the LEGO group wouldn't approve and probably aren't up to their standards for stability and everything, and just easeability for handling and for building and for everything else. So this wouldn't make it to market, but I did really like this build as well. It's super fun, really unique, and I like that about it. And here we're kind of adding on the front couple wheels, which was the part I was most interested in, and I was kind of surprised by it. So pretty neat. And now on to my thoughts about this alternate build. Okay, so this is the last kind of fan created alternate build I'm going to be looking at in this video for this set. It might be something I do in the future with different sets if there's interesting, alternate builds and stuff like that. I would consider doing this again, and maybe I can cut the videos down a little bit more and whatever else. But this is another, like I said, another design by pluTOMium, and this is, they called it the Spinner. So another build for the Cool Cars Creator 3-in-1 4939. And yeah, this was really interesting to me. So this is the same designer that designed the truck model I looked at, and I did have some issues with that, but I thought it looked really great. Then a different designer built the Landspeeder that I put together, or designed the Landspeeder, and now we have this Spinner. So to me, this looks kind of like a like a sci-fi kind of vehicle here, or like a video game vehicle. I feel like I've seen things like this, and it's not quite like the Tumbler or a different Batmobile, but it has an element to it that reminds me of something like that, and I can't quite put my finger on it here, but I think this is actually pretty cool. Again, it does have some precarious building techniques, up here, this kind of stuff. I don't think LEGO would really ever have like load-bearing stuff like this just clipped on like that, especially with these ones like not like locked down anyway. But it is stable enough right here, which is cool. So I was wondering how that was going to be done. This one does use all of the pieces officially, except for just the leftover ones that are traditionally there. So the truck had like one piece left over, and the Landspeeder I looked at had two pieces technically, but just the rubber wheel and the rim. This one has all of it, and it's sturdy enough, but it does still have some differences here, but it's got some cool stuff. I think the shaping for these kind of arms at the front is really good, even though they're kind of on there weirdly. I do like how this tapers out. I like the stuff on the inside there. I think that's pretty nice. And the shaping up here, the windscreen attaches in a better way than some of the other ones, and I kind of like all the front end there. We do have doors that kind of open up, so to speak, like that. So kind of like the original Cool Cars build had kind of butterfly like doors or whatever. These ones are pretty flimsy and pretty thin, so I already kind of broke that one a little bit there. But when they fold down, it actually gives this really nice angle because they don't fold down all the way, which really helps with the design of this. There is space in there, and I actually like also the cutout here for the window. Feels kind of authentic for me. We do have some studs on the side stuff in here. The wheels can all spin independently. Building up the back, we have kind of some different sci-fi looking things there, kind of build out the back bumper here, and it's kind of everything. It's like a low riding vehicle. These can fold. I don't know if that's supposed to be some function, if this was like a hover vehicle or something, almost like the DeLorean. Even the Lego set has kind of a feature that flips the wheels down like that, which is really cool. And this has about half of that, but this is like a sci-fi car, and I just think it's really, really fun. And I think the designers did a good job for all three of these. It's only two different designers, pluTOMium and the WelshDynastyBuilds, for this video and for this particular set, but they did a pretty good job, I think, capturing the looks here. I think they're all pretty accomplished. I think they all look pretty good. They have varying degrees of like stability and other just like techniques used that I think would be likely to be used by Lego. This one is probably in the middle. I think the Landspeeder one was probably the most like stable and the most close to like what Lego would do for an alternate build, but I also don't think Lego would really ever do a Creator 3-in-1 that's like IP related or have one of the alternate builds be IP related. I don't know if they would do something like this either, but I think this is really cool. This might be my favorite one. I liked the Landspeeder a lot. I liked the truck, but this one is just so unique to me, and I really love kind of the sci-fi element to it, and it feels pretty great. It is another cool car, and I like that, and I don't know why it's called the Spinner necessarily, but it is pretty sweet looking. So yeah, I really, man, I build a Lego set like this somewhat recently that had wheels up there like that. I don't remember, but either way, this was pretty fun. Maybe you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know. If you want me to maybe look at other alternate builds or community design builds for other Lego sets. This is, not an official model, which is not something I've done on here before. So let me know if you like it. If not, whatever, that's cool too. I certainly enjoyed it, and that's meaningful to me. So very good. If you like this video, please click the thumbs up and give it a like. If you like my other videos, click the subscribe button down below so you can stay up to date on all the Lego videos I'll be doing here in the future, including maybe more alternate builds, community design builds, fan design builds, unofficial Lego builds, alternate builds for given sets. I don't know how much more of that I'm going to be doing, but I'm also just going to be reviewing tons of other Lego sets like I normally do. Sets from all different theme, all different shape, size, price point, piece count, tons of different stuff. Old sets, new sets, retired sets, used sets, all kinds of things. Big, small, everywhere in between. So subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming Lego videos, and we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so I appreciate all the help. It means a lot to me. I hope I can get there, and every additional subscriber means a lot to me, so thank you very much. And then if you wanted to support this channel in a different way, you could do that here on YouTube with membership, supers, and thanks. And I have the Patreon. It's in the video description. It's on my channel page, patreon.com/sobricks, and maybe consider checking those things out. It is helpful, so thank you very much. And I think with all of that said, until next time, thanks. Bye.